about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was Great Sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, with my partner in crime, my bearded brother, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Mr. EZ BlueZ is in the building. EZ BlueZ, you are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us on the program today?
Ladies and gentlemen, when you have intense heat and iron, you can truly forge something absolutely incredible. And where would you go to get this thing forged perfectly? This is a wonderful thing. When you sit and you think, and you take two different elements and you put them together, then truly you can find the true science of everything. When you want to sit down and you want to have a talk with someone incredible, you sit down and talk with a professor. When you want to have something made of pure fire, you speak to the blacksmith. And for that, today, I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2, because we don't need any accidents. But mentally, you can put your hands together for the fantastic, the amazing, the incredible, and it's just humbling to have him here with us today. The blacksmith is in the building. In the building.
Hey, folks, how's everybody doing? Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. Now, you're a man of many professions, is good enough to say. Now, what started first? The music, just talking, broadcasting? Because you do a lot of things. Like, I can't really like classify you as a rapper. I can classify you as a man with many talents. What started first and what began your journey?
Truthfully, I believe it was art.
Okay.
I've been a comic book blurred since 1975.
Good.
Oh man. And I was video gaming since 1978.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I've always loved music. Yeah, I remember back in the day, my mom used to, on Saturday mornings, she would play music and we'd have to clean the entire house. But all that good music, that influence. So music, comics, video gaming, that's kind of always been my thing, So it was a natural progression when I came of age, and again, I grew up during the inception of hip hop. So
Okay.
It was a natural progression, living in the hood and stuff like that, and seeing like a lot of my peers and my siblings doing music and stuff. Oh yeah, it was a natural progression. I knew I would eventually reach this point. And it's funny, I started off as a beatbox.
Really?
I used to beatbox for my brother. The Fat Boys and Dougie Fresh were amazing. So, I discovered I could do it. I was like, oh, snap. So I started like beatboxing for my brother. And, and the next thing you know, I was like, when beatboxing kind of like almost phased out a little bit, I started rapping and it took off from there. So, yeah, so I've been doing it for a while.
It's funny because I didn't know you rapped.
Yeah, really?
I never heard you rap ever. Maybe easy, maybe a little bit different. I never heard the professor or blacksmith rap. As a matter of fact, this is like a two-part question. When did you start rapping and what came first for names, the professor or the blacksmith?
Oh my goodness. The blacksmith is a new name.
Okay.
It's a new name. And it's odd where I got the name the blacksmith from. I'm a game developer. I make video games on the side.
Okay, cool.
Right.
All right.
And I'm always creating, always crafting. So one day I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, I was in what I call like my forge while I'm creating. And I was like, I'm in the forge all the time. I might as well call myself the blacksmith. And I started writing. That became my pen name.
Right.
And so that was it. And I make beats too. So like, again, I call my little studio, I call that the forge. So I'm like, man, this is like the writings on the wall. Clearly I'm the blacksmith. So that's that. But yeah, I music is just in my life. It's in my blood.
Right.
It's hip hop is my lifestyle. No doubt about that. So I don't even know if I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
You answered like
so
part
excited.
of the question because I was waiting for the professor part. I thought you were going to call the studio the lab, which I would have thought would have been a pretty cool concept, but you can go ahead and just correct me.
My brother KJ, the dude who's DJing, he had the lab.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the name of his studio.
Hold on. You and DJ KJ are brothers?
Yeah, that's my brother. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Okay.
So he had the lab.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I started rapping, he was my DJ, and I had this other guy that I went to high school. I actually started off rapping when I was in high school, like my freshman year. And so he started DJing for me like later on when he realized I could rap. And then boom, here we are. So yeah. It was kind of funny. It wasn't a falling out. It was more of a me being petty. I went away for the military, right? I went away for the military, and while I was away, he started working with like some local rappers, and there was a couple that I really didn't like. I was like, these guys are corny. I don't know why you're dealing with them. And so when I came back, I had taught myself how to scratch and do all that stuff. And he was like, we would put beats together. So I taught myself how to produce on my own. And I was like, I'm gonna show my brother. I'm gonna show him. I don't need him. And and it was fun for a while, but I knew eventually I would like make it back to working with my brother, and that's how the hip hop professors were born. So yeah. Okay. So.
Now it's so super interesting. It's so super interesting because the first time I saw you live was you were sitting and I believe it was an MPC, and you were doing live beats for PA, and with the DJ involved in there as well. And then I remember being at a movie theater during the pandemic.
You remember?
and it was the first time I actually heard you spit.
Yeah.
And at first they didn't give you enough time, and I thought you were just a producer, so I was like, oh, he's just coming down to do whatever. But then, like, they went for a round 2, and you were actually able to spit. It still wasn't enough time. But it was. I was like, oh, okay. There's this guy's like an onion. There's layers.
Yeah. It was funny because I was a little annoyed that we didn't have enough time because I was sitting. I don't know if you remember. You and PA went up, and I was sitting in the back, and I was like, all right, so somebody gonna call me or do I just go up there, whatever. Right. And then I was like, I got tired of sitting there, and I came down, and then I was able to do a little something. But if I had to choose, I choose lyricism. Beats is always my thing, right? But writing over beats and stuff I started with break beats and stuff, and then I learned how to program drum machines and stuff, and so it was like a natural progression because again I was a little mad at my brother, so I started making my own beats and stuff, and I started programming drum machines and stuff, and then I was like, all right, so I don't really need him, and I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna put together this incredible project, and I'm gonna show him, and he's gonna love it. And then, so the older brother, so I wanted to impress him. But but it kind of took on a life of its own, and I just started, producing and making my own, songs and stuff. I've probably written, recorded, and copywritten well over 200 songs. I put together like a few different like full projects, 10, 12 songs a piece, so I've been doing music and stuff for a while. I have my ASCAP and stuff. And so I was like really, really serious about it for a very, very long time. And I knew how powerful indie artists are. And we had, between me and my brother, I think I've turned down like 4 record deals. One with him like years ago. Wow. And it's kind of a funny story. The first record deal, it was me, my brother, and my buddy who was down with us at the time. He was my partner, and we were meeting with GNR Production. Well, you know who that is, Gene Griffin and Teddy Riley. We were meeting with them, and we were going to sign with them. but the deal just seemed a little shaky. And Teddy Riley didn't show up for the meeting. So I was like, nope. And I was talking to my brother. I was like, yeah, this don't sound too good. And the terms on it was like a little crazy. And a month later, GNR Productions broke up, and they were gone. So all the artists that were signed to that, they were stuck. And I was like, oh, he was like, good call. And I'm like, thank you. So, it's again, it's hip hop is in my life, man. It's my lifeblood. I'm hip hop. Everything I do, even like in my current profession, I'm a school teacher. Even in my current profession, like I rap to my students and stuff. I DJ the talent shows and stuff, and so this is my lifeblood, man.
It's so awesome. Interesting. This is really, I think, the first time we've had an MC on who's willing to talk about what it's like growing up through the evolution of hip hop and growing up as an artist through the evolution of hip hop. Because, if my timeline is correct here, you were maybe a couple years younger than LL Cool J when he hit.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you're literally watching your peer go and grow and figure this out. What is it like being that artist during the the real come up? We're talking 50 years now.
So New Haven was an interesting place back then because everybody was looking to New York. And there were a lot of legitimate MCs in town, right? And we weren't trying to be like New York, but we were trying to kind of develop our own style, our own flow and everything. But a lot of the MCs were kind of like New York MCs, and they would go to New York and perform and right. But New Haven, for a long time, they had this rich history of like lyricism. We started off, me and my brother, and we started off doing like the Eli Whitney talent show, and we would do like shows around town, and we would do, so that's where it really started. And it was like we were also watching our famous contemporaries. And again, we're talking about the LL Cool J's, the Run DMCs, the Fat Boys. We were seeing them. And then out of the blue, we have the Skinny Boys out of Bridgeport. Funny story.
Exactly.
He probably will never admit this. He will probably never admit this, but I was possibly seriously the most, and please don't ask me to do it though, but probably seriously the best beatbox in Connecticut at one point. Seriously.
In the whole entire state.
In the whole state. I stand by that. I battled, remember you had like the home phone with the cord and everything?
Yeah.
I battled the jock box on the phone, and I ripped them.
There were beatbox battles?
Yeah. Dude,
there are
when
still
I was younger,
beatbox battles.
There are still beatbox battles. Dude, when I battled this kid named Stanley. I remember him. Yeah. He liked this girl that I liked, and I battled him in her backyard, ripped him, and then left with the girl. Yeah, it was like it was like that. It was serious like that. But
so pretty much what we're hearing is Breaking and Breaking 2 actually happened, and it happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
I always do beatboxing, pop locking battle. It was real, man. So again, the culture in New Haven was like really, really rich with the beatboxing, the rapping, the break dancing, the graffiti, the DJing. Yeah, it was really, really real. Rest in peace, Cutmaster Joey D. I met him back in 1985, 86. Yeah. And he inspired me to continue rapping. I went over his house. One of my buddy, shout out to my buddy Dirk. He was neighbors with him, and he inspired me to go visit him one time because he was DJing, right? And it's taking me back because I remember going into like his basement where he had all his setup and everything, right? And I was blown away because it was the first time I'd actually seen like a huge setup, like it was like studio stuff. And it was the first time I actually seen the TR-808, like in live in person, right? I've seen Mantronics and other people, right? But it was the first time I'd actually seen it. And he put on the music, and he was doing like this I know you got soul, Eric B and Rakim. He had that programmed on his drum machine, and then he was like doing the scratches at Eric B. I was like, oh my God, where am I right now? And he told me a crazy story. Before Jam Master Jay, he was supposed to be the DJ for Run DMC.
Yes, and
You knew that, right?
I can confirm that because I was actually at his celebration of life at the State House. Tony Crush from the Crush Brothers was down there.
Now I remember.
I got to see him. I got to see him play, which was great. DJ Prime was there as well, and it was just incredible to see. And then they had like people, a video thing of people shouting out the love for him, and there was Daryl. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was real. This is a real story. This is the real deal. This person really went there. They had pictures of him DJing with Salt and Pepper.
Yeah,
that was the thing I was going to ask you is, do you think New York had such a great flavor because they were using New Haven DJs?
I believe that. And another thing was there was a lot of artists that came from here that ended up going to New York or going to other places. Good example. There was this group, and I'm not sure if they exist because I played with them at one point. This group called Shamari. They're like locals and stuff, right? They had an incredible run on this label called Warlock back in the day. Their videos have been on BET, the whole 9 years. I mean, these guys were amazing.
Wow. Okay.
And one of their original members before they got down with Warlock, this dude named Troy Taylor.
Yeah.
Troy Taylor is this incredible producer. Now, I believe he went to Atlanta, and he's produced for the likes of like Big Bub from Today, the group Today, and Trey Songz. So,
nice.
So like that's what happens. A lot of the artists that will be here, they used to end up going other places to get fame.
Okay.
And I remember having a conversation with Joey D about this at one point, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He said we used to believe that there was like this black hole that was on Connecticut. There was a lot of talent. It still is. There's a lot of talent here, but it was a real challenge for us to like blow up unless we left. So that was kind of like my struggle growing up and making music was. I was determined to stay a native and stay, you know what I mean? I was determined to like, even if it was just going to be through indie. And, I can say this with all confidence. I'm probably a legend that a lot of people don't even know they idolize because I've been me and my brother, and we've done shows all up and down like New York and all different places and stuff. Matter of fact, when I was in the military, I used to rap and stuff, and I've done stuff, kind of in different parts of the world. You know what I mean? So again, hip hop being so deeply ingrained in the culture in New Haven, I mean, realistically, with the talent that's here and the talent that has like gone on to do many things, I mean, not even just New Haven, but Connecticut as a whole. There's just a lot of talent, and we didn't really need New York. We didn't need, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I really wish there was like this really big push. And I can tell you one of the problems.
I was just getting into that. You read my mind.
Yeah. One of the major problems that I saw, especially growing up when I did in the music, was hip hop was a competitive sport.
Oh yeah,
Still is.
It still is, right? But back then it was like even more competitive. I remember having like beef, and it was like music beef, but beef with like different rappers and stuff around. I remember one time we'd done a show, one of the I Whitney talent shows, and we ripped it. And I remember being on the bus, the city bus, and some dudes were talking about us and I sat in the back and I didn't say anything, but they were talking about how dope we were. And then there's like hating dudes that was on the bus too. And they're like, oh man, they were corny and this and that. So I knew we were doing something. I knew that we were making some type of impact. Matter of fact, me, my brother, and this other dude that my cousin, my cousin, he was part of my group. We were like at the New Haven Mall, and we were going up the escalator, and there were some girls at the top of the escalator, and they pointed us out because they had been to the show. They pointed us out, and it was like, oh, there they are. And then we did this dance and stuff. We called the East. Well, I'm not gonna do dance, it's ridiculous. Anyway, but the girls started doing the dance and everything. I was like, wow. So that was like a really good taste of like what type of impact that music has on people, have on the culture. And again, New Haven itself as a whole had such a rich history in hip hop. And it was indie, but some people like made it out, some people whatever, but it's such a rich history. So, you have a lot of people my age that, that remember that. And again, seeing a lot of my contemporary stuff back in the day, and again, another thing is I've also performed and opened up for a lot of acts. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I believe you on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City made, Mr. EZ BlueZ is in the building. You're saying a lot of great stuff about Connecticut and its hip hop culture. How come no one achieved that top tier level? Because like you saying all these great things, and I'm here, but I hear that some of the negative too. Like we have no unity, no one wants to stick together, too many egos. And don't get me wrong, hip hop, every genre has its egos. They'll never stop.
Yes. Do you want the honest answer?
I would like the honest answer from the professor.
Money.
What'd you say, Easy?
Easy said money, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay, that I could say that's part of it, but it has everything to do with unity. We had this unfortunate period of time in New Haven. I dub it the crack wars. And we had those different gangs and stuff that were, a part of it. But there was like MCs and stuff and DJs and, whatever that were also a part of it. And it was a lot of like battling between each other. The flavor tapes were ridiculous. Tapes were like ridiculous. But there was a lot of that going on, and I'm repping the Hill, I'm repping Westville, I'm repping, you know what I mean? And what they didn't see, and unfortunately there was no like person that was like mediating that would say, let's bring it all together. We have enough talent here to build this giant label. There was money out there. Obviously it was dirty money, but there was a lot of money out there. But let me tell you, a lot of the labels came up like that. But but that was the major obstacle. I didn't want to work with this person because of this. I didn't want to work, right? And it was and that was the major problem. And another part of the problem was I don't think that people thought that we could stand up to New York. So other than 88.7 in the college radio station, right? Other than them, there was nobody even playing our music. Toot Ski, shout out to Toot Ski, and Cool V and Money Moses used to play my songs. They used to play my song. They would bring me up there to interview me and my buddies and stuff. And my brother KJ will tell you, we used to go up there and they would play our songs. Nobody was doing that. No other radio station was doing that. And that meant so much because people were, even though again, we were locals and we were indie, people were hearing our music. And that was so powerful. But that was it. Nobody else was doing that. And I think that if we had, and New York has like 100 million and one, like, different resources to get them to radio stations, and a lot of their DJs come from those neighborhoods and you could pass it off and whatever. But because it was so much easier to get your music to the people and get it out there, I saw that as like a major obstacle. So unless you were really connected with a label or something like that, or able to secure that label deal, there was no music really coming out of New Haven like that. And the record deals I turned down, it was kind of comical. One of my favorite that I tell people about was I was like solo and stuff, and I was like, producing my own music. There was this label out of the Midwest, these young guys. Um, and the funny thing is, they 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 weren't gangsters, but they were doing like gangster rap.
Right, of course.
It was
That's what was
funny.
making money at the time.
Yeah, right. So they were doing that, and they had this bomb deal with Ichiban Records, who had this bigger deal with Universal. So Universal was doing their distribution. So they were able to, on their label, going through Ichiban, Hustlers Make G's, that's the name of the label. They were able to. It's comical, right? So they were able to secure this bomb deal with Ichiban, and then Ichiban through through Universal was doing all of their distribution. They wanted me to sign with them, but my hesitation was they also wanted me to ghostwrite and my songs were like, honestly, my songs back then were more like of the conscious nature.
Right.
And because years ago I had linked up with this group called the Black Expedition Movement. We were activists, and there was a lot of stuff going on in the city. There was like a lot of black on black crime. There was a lot of police brutality. Our vehicle was, we were doing more conscious music, and we would do shows at like colleges and the prisons and stuff, and we would do like more like uplifting music and stuff. Like it was hip hop, but we were doing like more stuff like that. And they wanted me to change what I write about, because they can clearly know I can flow, but they wanted to change what I wrote about, and they wanted me to talk about shooting people and selling drugs, this and that.
That wasn't you.
And it wasn't me. And not for the deal that it was. I wasn't gonna sacrifice my art.
Right.
For no one. I'm not going to sacrifice my art for anybody. I'm a lyricist, pure, like true and true. I'm not going to sacrifice what I do to serve a master that's not mine. I didn't sell drugs. I wasn't, shooting anybody. I wasn't doing any of that nonsense. So I'm not going to, that's the one thing about hip hop. Yeah, we brag and stuff, and it's like, it's fun and everything. But if I tell you I could rip an MC, I do that.
Right.
I'm gonna I might brag a little bit about the lengths of it, but I'm always gonna speak truth, because nobody's gonna run up on me and be like, "Oh, you said you were hard and this and that, and you shooting this and this and that." If that's not my lifestyle, I'm not gonna proclaim that, because you can get hurt.
You can.
So again, I think that the major obstacle for Connecticut period was not only the money, but if we had the money, being able to create these really, really powerful labels that would pull in this talent. I mean, we could have done anything. We could still do it. But it's a part of its ego, part of its,
It's actually easier to do it now.
Absolutely.
Because distribution you can do for $19.99 a year.
Yep.
Like, let's be real. It's easier to do it now, to get your music out there. It is so much easier. That being said, it's 3 million times harder to break it, because it is so easy, and the market is so super flooded.
Yeah, it's saturated.
Everyone has a record out. Everyone has an album going through there. That's why, like, I look at it and I look at those streaming numbers, and I'm thankful for the 1 or 2 we get a day.
Right.
Because that's one person that took 3 to 4 minutes to hang out with us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like their day we needed that for that whatever, and that's why I make music.
Right.
It's one of the key things. I love exactly what you're talking about, and the whole reason why I even brought up the money aspect of it is because for those distribution deals, it's also getting their advertising deals, it's also getting their marketing idea, budgets and all that as well. And that's where that's where you're going to figure it out. And for all those that don't want to believe in that and don't want to believe that we are very easily convinced, Michael Jackson paid MTV to every 20 minutes call him the king of pop. That is why he is known as the king of pop.
He paid them?
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yep. I knew that.
Yeah. Dude, let's be so when you think anything in this industry is real, it's not. Like
not.
there's a man behind the curtain going dee, 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 dee,
Yeah,
dee,
yeah,
dee, dee, dee.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
this is the
Exactly.
grossest industry in the history of forever, and I love every second of it. And if I tried to stop it, a part of me would die.
Yes, and it's funny because I think about not only how easy it is to get your music like on a platform, because you hear like just regular guys, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm on Spotify, I'm on this, I'm on that. It's so easy to get your music on a platform. Plus, you have social media. You could flood social media and do your own marketing. It's a possibility to make things happen like that. You can now create your own merch. There are companies that do your t-shirts and do whatever you need, right? So it's so easy, but at the same time, if we had like a BET or some type of platform, I mean, YouTube's amazing because you can like do your videos and stuff and put them out there, whatever. But if we had something like a reach, like a BET or something, or a label, I think that would also help some of these indie artists like really be able to push and be able to right, because we see it's possible. We see a Tech9, we see a Hobson, we see the Snow the Product. We see these amazing indie artists that are doing amazing.
Look at NoFX. NoFX is about to retire. Have never been signed to a major label their entire existence. They're doing all these shows so that the band is set up for the rest of their lives and they never have to work again.
Yep, amazing. So it's like, possible.
It's extremely possible, and nowadays is it as probable? You make less off of the music itself, but that being said, you make more in the merch, especially when you're sitting there and you're creating it all yourself. So it does balance itself out. It just depends. At the end of the day, you need to surround yourself with. Sometimes you need a used car salesman. And you need to surround yourself with a used car salesman because you want to be that car that he's selling.
Yep. I remember we were doing some shows and stuff. It was like New Hampshire and some other stuff. We were on this tour, and there was a guy that was rolling with not with us, but he was a part of the tour, and his media thing was brilliant. And I'm gonna tell you what he did. I didn't even think about it. Whenever he was about to perform, he would announce, "Oh, and you could find my music at so and so," and then he'd end it with that, right? Total salesman, right? Then he had like his own table set up. His people would roll with him, and he had his own table set up. He had T-shirts, hats, CD, everything, and so he was like a walking like advertisement. It was amazing how he would do that, and and he brought his own crowd with him. So the crowd is infectious. So like, even if you didn't like really care for his music, right? You saw how hype his people was right. And then now it's a party because other people are getting involved. And before you knew it, the entire place was like lit. And me being who I am, initially I was like, this dude is corny, but it wasn't. It was less about him being. He wasn't corny. I was just being a lyricist, right? But it was me thinking, oh man, this guy got us beat because he's ahead of the game. He's thinking ahead, and he's doing. And it made me really like respect and appreciate what he was doing. And I was like, this is genius. And he would sell out his T-shirts, and they look cool. He was wearing his own merch. Man, it's possible. It is absolutely possible. And again, this showed me really the beauty of how far the culture has gone, be it industry or indie. And it's just an amazing time to be alive and still be a part of hip hop culture, man.
I agree. I remember just like riding my bike down near Edgewood Park. It was for the Seeing Sounds Festival. So New Haven definitely has grown so much within hip hop culture. Just seeing a whole park packed with people just seeing just New Haven artists solely, mind you, solely. Like they had like another act, but it was like wasn't really like known like that. Wasn't like to a status as like a Tech9 or anything. but for like a 95% of that roster just to be from New Haven, Connecticut, and youth seeing that, giving them an inspiration that they can make
And
it's a big deal. Really
the
is.
people that were on that bill were ridiculous. I mean, you had Stout and the Family Band on there.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
right. I mean, to be
amazing.
real, Stout holds one of the most incredible emotional moments of my life. She was literally the soundtrack for it. I was there the last day of the State House. The last day of the State House was the jam. She grabbed the microphone and she started doing an improv version of "Smells Like Teen Spirit." And she brought gospel into it. She brought the church there. And when I tell you, it was one of the most pinnacle moments of just watching, being an artist and watching art develop and fade.
Wow.
It was glorious.
That is amazing. So New Haven, I don't know if they still do it, but I remember performing in it, and God rest Code Red. That's where I met him. There used to be this event every May 1st, the May Day event, and I would perform in it every year. And all the different artists that were there was phenomenal. And it was like all around the city. There were people, artists from all around the city. And I remember again, I remember first meeting him. He was standing in the crowd and we were both watching, and I gave him, the Soul Brother nod, and everything, gave me the nod back, and we started, kicking it and stuff and talking.
Right.
And then he went up there and ripped it. And I was like, I'm gonna have to follow this. And I said, let me go up there and handle my business. So I went up there after, and I ripped and did my thing, and we've been cool ever since. And I regret, because life happens, I regret not being able to like work with him. But we used to always talk about, let's do a jam together, because we come from the old school, and he has he had an amazing work ethic, and he was a really, really solid brother, like really, really solid. So, and looking at him and looking at some of the artists that I know, again, shouting out to my brother PA and to my brother KJ, hip hop is alive and well still. It's alive and well. And again, just still being able to be a part of it. Even, I'm a silent part now, even though I want to get back out there. It's never going to leave my life. I mean, my kids love old school hip hop, and so again, I get to spread some of the love when I'm teaching and stuff. I teach English language arts.
That's awesome.
My kids are rapping. You know what I mean? I get to like spit something for them or whatever. So again, it being a part of my life so much. I'm gonna live and die hip hop. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
See, I think that's so cool, because especially I remember being in the English classes in middle school and high school, and because of my love of hip hop, Shakespeare was so much more fun. Because he has the antamic parameter, whatever it's called, the word I can't pronounce. But where all the bars set up exactly how it's supposed to be, and you can find that rhythm that's in the lyrics and in delivery wise, and it was always so glorious to do. But if it wasn't for the fact that I grew up listening to Public Enemy and I grew up listening to Run DMC, I would have never been able to really experience that. And I love you. Old Self is another history is another English teacher as well. I believe Council does, I think, mathematics. I'm not sure.
A little bit of everything.
There's a little bit of everything. So it's absolutely incredible to see hip hop and the hip hop culture in the teaching culture.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you had a lot of pushback? Yeah, well, have you had a lot of pushback, from the BlueZ?
Here's the funny part.
The funny part on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Professor, continue.
The funny part is nobody comes to Mr. Collins' class and tells him what to do in his classroom. Not even the admin. My kids are learning. All right. My kids are learning, and they're learning well.
Let's go.
So however I do my lessons, I have an entire unit when we're doing the poetry unit. It's all hip hop, so I'm doing like Nas, Biggie. I'm playing all of that, and so again, I get this wonderful opportunity because it's twofold, right? One, it's when my kids meet me for the first time, I introduce them to my world. I tell them who I am. I have slide decks and I have like, pictures of me playing the drum machine and, me in the studio and this and that. But they see all of that and they know that they're going to hear it because, I even had like a beginning of the school year rap that I would do. I don't remember it, but yeah. So it's because nobody's going to push back for two reasons. One, don't come in my classroom and interrupt. That's the first thing. Two, our kids are learning.
Right.
If I can use hip hop music in general, and it's not all about it's about music in general. If I can use music as a vehicle for kids to learn, I'm gonna do that. I remember in high school, I hated certain classes, right? And I had to study and pass a test. I would turn the lessons into raps in my head. That's how I would remember them, and I would ace tests. That was my thing, and I try to do that with my kids. I'll be like, hey, remember, play some music or something, maybe play an instrumental or whatever. Do whatever you got to do to kind of remember it or whatever. If you got to write it down, like I taught a kid how to do that, take this lesson. But yeah, nobody's gonna, as long as kids are learning. Like I look at the standards as I'm teaching and I'm putting together lessons and I'm making sure I'm hitting all the standards. So even if they wanted to come in and try to say something, what can they say? Nothing, because I'm hitting the marks. The standards are being taught. And is my style, my teaching style a little unorthodox? Absolutely, but it's effective. It works, and kids are learning. That's all I care about. Right. That's all I care about is kids learning. So yeah, they don't mess with me. They don't mess with me.
I love how you've taken the battle rap and the battle beatbox philosophy all the way to the classroom. You're like, you can try. It's not going to work out for you, but you can try.
I mean, so I was a real shy kid back in the day, like when I was much younger, and my confidence came when I was writing, and I was spitting rhymes, and I think by all the years of me like battling other MCs or beatboxing, I realized that's where my confidence was. And I started to kind of use that in different parts of my life. And it allowed me to be able to achieve a lot of things. And again, I don't regret my past life as a nice guy, because I'm still a nice guy. But the part of hip hop that makes you, I don't want to use the word cocky or arrogant. It's not that. It's I'm more, I think I'm more sure, if we're going to call it anything. I'm more confident. Yeah, it's confidence is more. I'm more sure about. I'm real intentional. So as I'm talking about, so I mean, you could tell how I talk right now.
Yeah, you care.
I'm more intentional about things. So I do that with everything I do. My relationships, my friendship, whatever. I'm real intentional. I'm deliberate, and I'm honest, and that keeps me honest and open. You're not going to always like what I say, how I say it, but you'll always know that I'm being honest and truthful, and right. And I also teach that way. I'm the cussing teacher. I won't cuss here, but I'm also, while I'm talking and stuff, I might drop, the S-bomb or, what I mean? But as I'm talking and, and my kids are relating, the first couple of weeks, they're like, oh my God. But then after that, they're like, all right, this is who Mr. Collins is. But yeah, so it makes it a lot easier for me to stay genuine. I can't be phony. You'll see it on my face. I don't do that. So being honest, deliberate, and again, and I attribute that to hip hop. Hip hop should always.
How long you been teaching for again?
So I've been in education for well over 25 years.
Okay, now this sparks a question. Go. Okay.
Go.
Now, from what the answer you just told us earlier, was a Zoom class difficult for you to reach out to your students 4 years ago in the pandemic?
Absolutely. That
makes sense.
the entire year I did that. I struggled because I had a different type of job. I wasn't teaching a classroom. I had this thing called the IQ Club, and what that was for students that had to suddenly quarantine and they didn't have a place. So during the day, the morning time, I had like a K through 1, and then after that, I had a second grade to third grade, and then my last unit was a fourth and fifth grade, right? So I had to do programming for the entire day, and I had kids that weren't even turning on their cameras. I know they weren't there, but they would pop in. And then and then like I in my lesson I'd be like, so, and I'd choose that one student. So yeah, so what did you think about the lesson today? And they'd be stuck because I know they were around playing. And, you know, some of them didn't even turn off their audio, and you could hear them playing and doing whatever. Comical. But the struggle was, and I served well over 300 students during that time period, right? So my struggle was not only the reaching all the students, but it was so hard to keep consistent because when the kids finally would after they'd be out of quarantine, they'd go, then I'd get a whole nother group, and then a whole nother, right? So again, for the time period that I did it, my major struggle was not being able to keep them on target. And I found that out how the effects when I went back into the classroom. And I caught myself my first year getting back. I taught fifth grade, and you know, like you have to teach all of the lessons. You have to reading, writing, social studies, science, and math. And I had to teach lessons from prior grades to teach the lesson that I was supposed to teach. And I still catch myself having to do that now, even though, you know, we're out of COVID, but I still find myself having to, because, you know, kids don't know what prepositional phrases are, and, you know, adverbs, and right. So, and I'm a literature, right? I teach ELA, so it's like I struggle with, like, and I luckily there's like programs that I've used that are like I do supplemental lessons, so when they're done with my lesson, they can go practice doing that. So I'm thankful for that, but teaching is not an easy gig any means.
It's very hard.
It's especially when you're teaching. And again, not slighting social studies or science or anything like that, but math and ELA, it is a struggle. It is a constant struggle because we do have a lot of the fallout from COVID, and kids that weren't in the classroom at all, or like online Zooming, they weren't there, or for whatever reason, they had, you know, difficulty. So it's not an easy task at all, but I accept the job, man. I want it. I want it. Yeah.
Like, no matter what, we're still seeing the repercussions of missing it an entire year.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what happened. No matter what, everyone missed an entire year. And a lot of the stuff that you learn in school, not just the curriculum, but how to socialize.
Yeah, you know, that's the biggest problem. That is the biggest issue. It's that social piece. And I struggle the most because I have sixth graders, right? So they're still babies. And then some of them there's the ones that are a little more mature. They're like struggling to deal with their peers. So you have to also navigate that on top of everything else. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. But I love my babies, and I'll take them, and let's do it. And whatever the struggle is, I'll do my best to get them through it. So all through hip hop. Okay.
We only got so much little time throughout this first episode with you.
Yes.
I know you said you love your babies. You make video games. Which is your favorite baby?
Oh my goodness! So I did this project. I was a para for like 16 years, right?
Okay.
I was really running the show. I was teaching. The teacher, we were a math class, and the guy was a history teacher, and he can care less. So I took over and I started teaching, and our kids were struggling with mathematics. They were like messing up on standardized testing that they were forcing them to take, right? So I came up with this idea because I had younger kids too, and they used to play these terrible like video games that were like gimmick games, like Dora the Explorer, she's doing this, that, and the other thing, and how many logs, all that. It was terrible. I'm a gamer, so I created this video game called Zokeen. It was based on Mesoamerican history. There was mathematics built in. There was some Mesoamerican history built in. There was like puzzles. So that was my baby. That was a great project. And I was able, because I was in the classroom, I was able to not only let the kids play it, but I created like worksheets that went along with it. So after you completed a level, you can go in like, oh, so in this level, you played this and that. That was probability. How would you do this and that? And that was my vehicle. And that's what really initially got me started. So that one particular game has like this incredible, like, love. I have this incredible love for that project. So much so now that I'm using some software that is like AAA titles are made from now. I'm redoing that game. And now because I'm a school teacher full time, I can now use that. I don't have to ask permission. I can now use that to get in the classroom and help kids learn better. If they can play video games and you can learn a map of Hyrule or whatever, you know what I mean? You can memorize some stuff. Let me help you. Let me now help you convert. So that one particular project, I have this incredible love for. And I did a casual game called Bumper Bros, RC Bumper Bro Challenge. I love that. It's on itch.io or Game Jolt. But yeah, I have a couple of babies that I really, really love and that I plan on like redoing now that I have like a more powerful system. But yeah, so I love gaming. I'm a big blurred.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We appreciate that. There's only so much little time we have, like I said before. A couple inspirational words you just want to give to people who haven't really found that right step in life or pretty much unsure where they are right now. Your time is right now, man. Yeah,
that's easy. Give yourself a ton of grace. Things are not going to be easy, but if you really want something, don't let anybody tell you you can't accomplish that. But while you're doing that, while you're pushing yourself, give yourself enough grace to know that sometimes things happen. Sometimes it's not going to go. Learn how to pivot. I tell my own personal children, when things don't go your way, that's all right. Now, what are you going to do next? Let's pivot. Learn how to pivot. Give yourself a little grace. I made a mistake, but please, if it's your music, if it's school, whatever it is, relationships, give yourself a little bit of grace. That's the best advice I can give anybody.
But we cannot forget, please plug the social media, where to find you, and anybody hoping to connect with the professor.
You can find me at blacksmithfgc@yahoo.com. That's black guy. As what it is Blacksmith Fat Guy Commission. I was going to do food reviews. That's still on. That's still coming at some point. But you can also find me at Hip Hop Professors at Yahoo. So that's where I am. You can also find me on TikTok, Blacksmith Hip Hop Professor. I'm dropping bombs on TikTok too. So I'm actually doing like freestyle and stuff. So it's pretty dope. So that's where you could find me.
Professor, we appreciate your time for this part 1 edition of Your Excellence. Myself, Preston.
You.
Definitely. Thank you, brother. Myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Mr. Easy Blues. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.